If I launch pdfToolbox 7, the first thing I want to talk about is what we call a checkpoint, which is actually a way to enable manual operations, manual inspection, and manual fixing in an automated workflow. As you know, with pdfToolbox 6, we introduced the possibility to launch a server and manage a server from within the desktop, and I can either launch a server on my local machine, which I have done here for this demo, or I could connect to a remote server running on a different machine. But that functionality to configure the server has been there since pdfToolbox 6. What you could not do is get a notification of files that there are problems with and solve those problems in those files that the server processed. And pdfToolbox 7, what was introduced is something called a checkpoint that allows you to do exactly that. So I have configured here a local pdfToolbox server. On that server, I have two jobs, and what I'm going to do is show you the configuration of the first job I have on there. And what you'll see right away is that the panel where you can configure a job has been reworked, if you want, to allow the additional options that you have. And you can see a list here of all of the different folders, all of the different conditions for output, success, info, warning, and error. And if I click on each of those, you can see that I can now configure a report to be generated for that particular condition. So here I say when everything is successful, I don't want to get a report. On info, on warning, and on error, I have set that to PDF report, and I have checked send to checkpoint. Not only that, I've also given that checkpoint a name, check adds, and that gives me a job that will process files. And if a file generates an informational message, a warning, or an error message, then that file will be kept in a checkpoint. Now, what can I do with checkpoints? Let me close the server window here. Back in pdfToolbox desktop, I go to Tools. Not only do I now have this server menu item as I had in version 6, I also have a new item that is called Server Checkpoint Files. And that is a window where I can see which files are waiting in a checkpoint. Now, what I will have to do is throw something in the hot folder that I have here. So I have a check add hot folder, a number of files. I'll just copy those into the input folder, and they will be picked up by pdfToolbox server. That takes just a second to do that. And the idea, of course, is that the server still does its automatic processing. It finds warning messages or error messages in some of the files that it processes. And what you can see on my screen is that this checkpoint window that I have open in pdfToolbox desktop is receiving those files that there are problems with. Of course, the desktop doesn't have to run on the same machine as the server. I could perfectly well connect to a remote server running somewhere else, somewhere in the basement in the server room, and I would still get in this list the files that cause problems. I can go to one of these files, and I have a little info icon here. If I click that, it opens up an info window with a whole bunch of information about that particular file, and there is a preview area where I can see that actual file and where I can also even view the report that was generated for that particular file. But better than that, I can go back to the info pane here and I can say checkout. What that means is that that file is automatically downloaded from the server into my desktop. I can now use the different tools I have available in pdfToolbox desktop to inspect this file further. I could use some of the visualize tools to look at ink coverage, for example, or examine separations. I could also use some of the tools in the switchboard, run a profile, change the file even. So I could go to, just as an example, I could bring up the switchboard, go to colors, convert that to black and white, or run whatever profile I want to run to fix the problems that were found during pre-flight. And once I've done that, I can check that file back in to the server. And when I'm checking in, I'm moving this modified file back to the server. It will also allow me to choose what the condition is, the output condition for that particular document. So if I think that I have fixed the file, then I can move it to a success out. If I think there are still problems and they need to be corrected, then I could move it to an error out. Let me do that once more. I can check out a file into pdfToolbox, and once I am ready, I can go here and check that in again. And when I'm doing that check-in, I can choose what the result should be for that particular document. If this one is not fixable, I would set it to error, select check-in, and that file would end up in the, see if we can bring that up here. That file will end up in the error output for PDF Toolbox server. So the automated workflow still works as before. I have files that I can drop into an input folder. They are processed with the configuration I have set up for that particular job on the server. And if I configure it that way, they are held by the checkpoints. After I decide what needs to happen to that particular document, it is still either moved into warning, success, or error folder, depending on the choice that I have made there. And as you can see, this file has actually been converted to grayscale, as I did in the desktop version. The second file we checked out was in fact moved to the output folder. Now, this works with pdfToolbox desktop and pdfToolbox server. One of the other things that is new here is that you can also use the plugin in Acrobat to do similar things. This was not available in version 6, but is available in version 7. In version 6, you had to use pdfToolbox desktop, the standalone version, to manage a server. The server and the server checkpoint file menu item are now also found in the plugin inside of Acrobat. So if you prefer to do the configuration from within Acrobat, or if you prefer to check out files into Acrobat to examine them and fix them, then you can do exactly that. This will even work in Switch. If I have a setup in Switch, then there will be, and that is not available yet, but it will be available. And let me just go back to the presentation to show you how that will look like. There will be an additional configurator for pdfToolbox 7 called pdfToolbox 7 Checkpoint that will allow you to do that communication with the server and receive in one of the output folders of the configurator, receive the file once an operator handled it using the checkpoint in the desktop version. So in short, you have an automated workflow set up with pdfToolbox server. In version 7, you can quarantine, if you want, those files that cause problems in a checkpoint. Those checkpoints can be given a name so that you know which job in pdfToolbox server generated those files. And in pdfToolbox desktop, I now have a new window to look at those files, check them out, work with them, change them if I want to, and check them into the server workflow again. Of course, the checkout and check-in are implemented in that way because that avoids that two operators will start to work with a file at the same time. If I check a file out, then it is locked for other operators to check it out.